Yes, I'm Tony Craig. This is F1 Grandstand, and this is your daily Formula One news. This is Friday night, and we've got a lot to get into. We've got some breaking news as well. So much been going on today. So breaking news over the last couple of hours. Adami is out. He is no longer Lewis Hamilton's race engineer going into 26, just the one season together. He's been moved sideways in the company. Helmut Marko says Max Verstappen cannot win in 2026. Red Bull Powertrains chief, that's Ben Hodgkinson, has been talking, saying that they're going to be on the legal limit with their powertrain. We're going to be delving into what that means. We've got, of course, the new liveries from Red Bull and Racing Bulls. We'll be discussing those. And also, what clues do those cars that they presented, those show cars that they presented last night in Detroit, give us for the cars in 2026? And also, Williams announced their reserve driver for 2026 as well. Loads to get into. So if you're an F1 fan, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash a like on the video if you do enjoy it. And please, please, please do me this one favor. When you look at the channel page, look at where you've subscribed. Behind that subscribe button, when you click it, you'll see 4 options. You need to make sure the bell and the bell all is ticked, because that way you can be in control of which content you see and don't see. The way YouTube works is, unfortunately, if you subscribe to lots of channels, you don't always get notified if you miss a load of content. So this way you make sure you see the content, and if it's for you, you can watch it or not, but it keeps you in control. Yes, so it's Friday night. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all sat relaxed, having a takeaway, glass of wine, beer, cup of tea. Say hello to the chat first before we get into the breaking news. So Jaman's in there, Crackite, Kyle, Queen of the Chat, Gemma, Reevesy is in there, Drop Tune's in there, Kyle, and All In's in there as well. Great to have you all with us. So breaking news, and I think Crackite has already mentioned it in the chat. So just 2 hours ago, Riccardo Adami has been removed from his duties as Lewis Hamilton's race engineer. It's quite interesting, actually, because obviously I put the video up earlier about talking about the crisis at Ferrari, my little rant about what I think John Elkann needs to do and what needs to happen at Ferrari, and things need to change, and that they need to back Hamilton, etc., etc. And interesting, because I know John Elkann is a big fan of F1 Grandstand. He watches every single episode. And look at this. Just an hour ago, Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari driver's race engineer Riccardo Adami, moved to a different position at the team ahead of the 2026 season, which was the right move, by the way. God, they did not have Lewis and Adami just didn't have the right chemistry, did they? When Lewis Hamilton was trying to praise and thank Adami at final race of the season, Abu Dhabi, Adami just ignored him. And it took Hamilton the entire in-lap, and then he's back on the radio again and says, "Hey, did you get my last message?" And he just pied him and said, "Oh, sorry, I was talking to the team." Basically saying, I'm ignoring you until this is more important. Like, that's just the wrong relationship. You can't have that relationship with your race engineer. That guy is doing every lap with you. He's in your ear. He's your goose to your Maverick. He had Pete Bonington for all that time, which was almost a paternal type relationship. Like, they protected each other. There's a genuine love and affection for each other. And I think, Max has got it with Lambiase, hasn't he? They're close. You just can't have that type of relationship with the person who's supposed to be closest to you, right? He's literally he's your rear guard, he's your back seat, doesn't work. So I'm glad that Adami has been moved on. I'm happy for Lewis. It was the right move. And this is what it says. So Lewis Hamilton's race engineer, Riccardo Adami, has been moved to a different role within the Italian team ahead of 2026. This is coming out from Sky Sports. Ferrari said, Scuderia Ferrari HP announces that Riccardo Adami has moved to a new role within the Scuderia Ferrari Driver Academy as Scuderia Ferrari Driver Academy and Test Previous Cars Manager. Okay, where his extensive trackside experience and Formula One expertise contributes to the development of future talent and to strengthening performance culture across the programme. It's a sideways move. He's out of race weekends, isn't he? He's no longer at race weekends with Lewis and Charles Leclerc, and he's going to be focusing on the academy. Look, he might do a good job there, but I don't think that type of personality, the stench that's left from last year and the way, because Lewis is still driving there, right? So you've got to favour your drivers. You've got to create an environment for your drivers where they can succeed. And I don't think having that guy around, God, if I was Lewis, I'd be like, yeah, get rid of him. Move him out. Scuderia Ferrari said they'd like to thank Ricciardo for his commitment and contribution to his trackside role and wish him every success in his new position. The appointment of the new race engineer for car number 44, obviously Lewis's car, will be announced in due course. Who will that be? I have no idea. I don't know whether Lewis is bonding with anyone who's currently at Ferrari. I think Lewis would take Pete Bonington. You're never going to get him. He's not going to leave Kimi Antonelli now. But it's hard, isn't it? It's almost like getting into a relationship. I think race engineer. It's almost like when you're choosing your sort of partner, you know, in life, whether it's your girlfriend, your boyfriend, wife, husband, whatever. You know, it's a big decision because, you know, it's intimate and they're your wingman, and you know you want to build a life together. It's almost the same thing. It's like, choose wisely, right? Like your race engineer is that type of relationship. It's your, you know, they're that important. It's, you can't, if so, I don't think that the team should say, here's your race engineer. I think it has to be Lewis's decision as much as it is the team's decision. And there has to be a connection and there has to be an affection. I know that comes over time, but as soon as that's broken down, what do we do when we, you know, your relationship breaks down? Well, you know, if you can't fix it, it's, you move on, don't you? Right? For everyone's happier that way. So yeah, I think it's a bigger decision than people think. Like choosing your race engineer and them choosing you and the team choosing that pairing. There's a lot of factors, and I hope they get it right. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe you've got some ideas in the chat. God, the chat's going crazy. Hang on, let me just get it off top chat because I always do this. Live chat. Yes. So, Eric's in the house. Hey, Eric, nice to have you with us as well. So, yeah, we're gonna. If you've got any ideas who you think Lewis Hamilton's race engineer should be, could be, will be, get in the chat. And if you're watching on replay, let me know because honestly, I don't know. Gemma, that's a great point. Gemma says it's like an arranged marriage if they choose your race engineer. It is, isn't it? It's true. It is like an arranged marriage if they choose your race engineer. That's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, there should be some sort of speed dating situation, right? Lewis should get himself a little table and all the potential, you know, race engineers for Lewis that are within the team need to go and do like 5 minutes each, and it's just like speed dating. And then, you know, Lewis can have a little piece of paper where he marks them out of 10, and at the end he can pick who he thinks. And they should put it on telly as well. We should go and film it. That's what I think they should do. Yeah, Gemma, arranged marriage. Yeah, we can't have that. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is yet, but they need to do it soon because the testing in Barcelona on the 26th of January, and you're going to want your race engineer to go through this testing process with you because that new relationship needs bedding in, just like any new relationship. Get through your honeymoon period. You got to find how you can, what your dialogue's like. You know, you need to find a way to communicate that works for driver and engineer. And that's simple as that. And that takes time. So they need to do it quickly. I would expect it to be done in the next week or so because, you know, they're all going to be together in Barcelona unless Ferrari don't make it there, which was the other issue. Gemma says, I'll host it. I've covered for a friend before hosting speed dating events. Brilliant. Old guy chat. Welcome to the chat, my friend. According to Enzo Ferrari, when the man has goals to reach, he cannot grow old. I guess he meant the driver in the team. You know, it's true. You're not allowed to grow old, right? Even Enzo Ferrari. I mean, you know, he always had goals to reach. If he wins a world championship, he wants to do it again. That's all Enzo was about. You know, I love that about him. That, I mean, again, you know, he probably had a bit of a ruthless. Well, he did have a ruthless side and a selfish side and all the rest of it. But we're talking about winning, we're not talking about making friends. You know, Enzo Ferrari was one of those. Hey, Thane, he's in the chat as well. Friday night madness. So yeah, breaking news. Lewis Hamilton will have a new race engineer announced shortwith. Coming soon. Best move ever. Get Adami away from him. It didn't work. Get him away from the race weekends. Get him looking after the academy drivers and the testing previous cars program. That's where you're meant to be right now, Adami. The future might change, but right now, stay away from race weekends. 100%. That's a good move. And it's funny that video today, I'm sure Elkin and Fred watch it. And that's why this has happened. It was a reaction to my early video about Ferrari being in crisis. Yeah, Gold Guy chat. Bono would be the best one. Pete Bonington would be the best one. You never get him though. You'd never get him away from Mercedes, and I don't think you get him away from Kimi Antonelli. They've got a good bond now. I can't see it. I mean, money talks. If Lewis is getting paid what, 70 million euros or something, call it 70 million. I mean, if Lewis feels like he needs Bono, he could give him a big offer, couldn't he? Ferrari pays wage, and then Lewis says, listen, here's a bonus of another, I'll give you 5 million. I mean, I don't think Bono's on that sort of money at Mercedes. So, you know, but if you think it's the difference, why would you not? Thane says, question, you said Toto was the conductor, but wouldn't the best conductor be a musician? So shouldn't the best team principal be an engineer? Toto can still be CEO, like Zach Brown. Well, I mean, it's not just sport that I think this. I mean, I am a fan of, like, I used to be more of a fan of Apple products. Steve Jobs, again, probably not a very nice man in a lot of ways and a bit of a dick, but what he achieved as the, you know, a guy who created Apple with no engineering skills, no design skills, a dropout from university, but he knew how to play the orchestra. And it's not just him. I think that history is littered with leaders who were good at that, but weren't actually particularly specialists in anything themselves. I don't know. I think we're going to see both. I think we're going to see engineers running the team and doing well to an extent. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Laura McKees does this year, because I think the major, weirdly, from last year in 25, I think the major upgrades that helped Max become a title challenger were actually upgrades that Horner had already put in motion before he left, like the new floor. So Laura McKees has got a chance to shine next year, maybe. Let's see. Let's see, because Zach Brown is a marketing guy, isn't he? You know, he says he's got racing in his blood, but he's really a marketing sales guy, really. And it has worked at McLaren. Newey will be interesting, won't it? At Aston Martin, because Newey hasn't got the razzmatazz, right? Has he? Hasn't got the flash, but he's got the. But you can't touch him when it comes to engineering and design. So Newey's a good test for that. Let's see how Newey does as team principal. See if he wants to keep doing it. Thane says Steve Jobs had ideas and design concepts. He made Pong and Pixar. That's true. Toto is more of a Tim Cook than a Steve Jobs. Well, I mean, but then you could say that Toto, he was instrumental at the beginning, wasn't he, of Mercedes racing. He shaped it. He shaped that race team in his image, and he managed to do a deal where he owned a third of it. I mean, he's pretty shrewd. And he is pretty clever. He is pretty clever. He's pretty confident, by the way, going into next year. I know that. So yeah, that's your breaking news. That's Adami, and we will get on with the show as planned, which we were going to be starting off with Helmut Marko opened his Dark Lord mouth recently today. Yeah, Helmut Marko has got some bad news for Max Verstappen following reveal of the new Red Bull. So Helmut Marko, the deliverer of bad news to his mate Max Verstappen, he basically says this. Helmut Marko's got some bad news following the reveal of the new Red Bull. Helmut Marko's delivered a stark warning about the 2026 F1 season, predicting that a driver using Mercedes power will claim the title, which is bad news for four-time champion Max Verstappen. Okay, no shit, Sherlock. We're all kind of feeling that might be the case. Maybe Honda will do something. But we've got more. Actually, but having said that, we do have more news on the Red Bull powertrain. Last year, the field had never been so close together. This is what he said, speaking to the press. There were races where in qualifying, there were 20 cars with 700ths of a second between each other. That's true. Yeah, it was very, very close. I think the gap will widen considerably. Yes, it will. The regulations are the way they are, but you have to give it a chance. However, I fear that the differences will increase dramatically. Yeah, that's true, because what he's basically saying is first year, new regulations, the diversification between last place and first place, the divergence is at its biggest point because everyone's interpreting the rules differently. So whoever gets it completely wrong, that's the worst they're ever going to be. And the people who get it right, yeah, there could be a massive gap. Marko's concerns extend beyond just the power unit. He's talking about the entire technical package. Now, I've been talking about this for ages. There's also the chassis with the flexible wings and all these other things, and especially the battery performance will be crucial. No one's talking about the bloody batteries. Why are we the only ones talking about the batteries? Everyone's talking about the engines, but the batteries are going to be vital. There's so many things coming together that I fear that sometimes there will be seconds between them. I hope there won't be such differences as there were in 2014. That was when Mercedes left everyone behind and they dominated with their V6 power unit and went to, win like 7 titles. But what you hear from Mercedes seems to be that they are furthest along in the engine development. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I fear it'll be a driver using a Mercedes engine, he stated. It could be Lando Norris in a McLaren. Williams is reportedly making a lot of progress. And of course, George Russell is someone who, if he really wants to be among the world's best, has to live up to that now and drive for the World Championship. So he might just sneak in a little dig there into the ribs of George Russell saying, hey, George, if you're really going to be a contender, this is your year. Or are you a pretender, not a contender? That's what he's doing there. A little dig in the ribs to George Russell. But so Helmut Marko giving a start warning to Max Verstappen, basically saying it's not going to happen. But we're going to get into some other news today from Red Bull's powertrain chief, Ben Hodgkinson, which might contradict Helmut Marko's views a little bit. And it might even clear up our views, because we were talking about, what is the situation with the Red Bull Ford powertrain? Well, we've got more information answering some questions for us. We'll come into that next. So what do you think about that? What do you think about Max's Helmut Marko, the Dart Lord, popping his head above the parapet to give some bad news to Max Verstappen? I know we're going to miss talking about him, actually. Yeah, Gemma is not bitter. Livewire, Toto to Tim Cook of F1. Right. Everyone say, what's Reevesy saying? Oh, here we go. I'm missing it. Old guy chat. Would 10 million do it to get Bono? Money talks, doesn't it? And Gemma says Steve Jobs wouldn't acknowledge his daughter. Yeah, I know. Terrible. Like I said, he wasn't the nicest person, but he did achieve great things. Jaman says, yeah, Tony, money talks, but when you have family, children, a great job already, money isn't everything. That's true. Health trumps it all, doesn't it? And then Thane says, no, Toto inherited Honda Brawn and looked into a good engine. And at the same time, he had shares in Williams as well, didn't he? Still got shares in Williams. Yeah. Thane says, Marko predicted that Nick was the next Max. Oh, no. Nick de Vries. Hadjar was too weak and Bortoleto was a second-rate driver. Doesn't have a good track record. Yeah. Interesting. Well, look, he can't get him right all the time. He did all right with Sebastian Vettel. And Max. And to be fair, Pierre Gasly's turned out to be a decent driver. I mean, I think he's done really well at Alpine. Yeah, Krakite says, because nobody wants the batteries in the sport at all. That's why no one's talking about the batteries next year. Gemma, Marko, hand me a bigger spoon. He's got more in the tank. For 1 million, I'll be his engineer, Kyle says. Carry Lewis's coat and walk his new dog. I'd do all that. I'd be Lewis's. I'd be a great race engineer for Lewis. Oh, we need to start a campaign going. So that's what Helmut Marko was saying. How do you think he told Max about it? Do you think he texted him? Do you think he uses WhatsApp, Helmut Marko? Because, Or do you think he uses like a normal text? Or it's a phone call? I'm going to go with he sends him a text with a load of random emojis at the bottom of it. That's what I think. That's what I think he says it to Max. You're going to do shit next year, Max? Monkey head, aubergine, umbrella. Right, I don't know. That's what I think. Live wire doing for 700k. Yeah, so, but the interesting thing about what Marko is saying is about the discrepancy in the engines, which brings us nicely onto what Ben Hodgkins has been talking about. Ben Hodgkinson. So, Red Bull are confident that the new F1 power unit is legal, albeit on the very limit of the rules. Ben Hodgkinson also is playing down the noise around the 18-1 and 16-1 compression ratio. And I found this interesting because Ben Hodgkinson, who's obviously the chief over at Red Bull Powertrains, listen to his language. So this is what he says. This is a quote. I think there's some nervousness from various power unit manufacturers that there might be some clever engineering going on in some teams. He said, I'm not quite sure how much of it to listen to be honest. I've been doing this a very long time and it's almost just noise. You have to play your own race, really. I know what we're doing and I'm confident that what we're doing is legal. Of course, we've taken it right to the very limit of what the regulations allow. I'd be surprised if everyone hasn't done that. My honest feeling is a lot of noise about nothing. I expect everyone's going to be sitting at 16. That's what I really expect. And then he says, like, from a purely technical point of view, the compression ratio limit is too low. He explained, we have the technology to make the combustion fast enough so the compression ratio is way too low. We could make 18-1 work with the speed of combustion that we've managed to get, which means there's performance in every tenth of a ratio that you can get. Every manufacturer should really be aiming at 15.9999 as far as they dare when it's measured. Pushing, and that's interesting. Talk about when it's measured, because that's what the regulations say. They measure it at ambient temperatures. And it's also interesting that this article, he goes on to say this. This is with coming out of F1 Oversteer, and he says it's frustrating, really, some of this stuff. Hodgkinson said via the Telegraph. For me, as an engineer, it's frustrating that the press has got hold of this. He's talking about the 18-1 and 16-1 compression ratio and the debate of what should be legal and when it's measured and everything like that. And he goes on to say, I think any engineer worth their salt who doesn't understand about thermal expansion doesn't belong in this sport, doesn't deserve to be an engineer. Really, almost every material changes with temperature, so it's understanding how materials behave in different temperatures, pressures, stresses and loads. That's literally our job. The regulations are super clear about compression ratio. You've got a 16-1 limit. The regulations say that 16-1 is measured in a very specific way. There's a document that describes exactly how you measure it, and it has to be measured at ambient temperatures. So it's super clear. So taking their interpretation of the 2026 F1 regulations to the very limit, but he's confident that what they're doing is legal, as the specific rule is about conditions out. And this is the important part, as the specific rule is about conditions outside of operation. So what has he told us there? I said in my show just last night, Red Bull Powertrains and Ford, they couldn't make the 18-1 compression ratios work. Well, I think Ben Hodgkinson's was watching and he's gone, yeah, we have. Because we're engineers and understand thermal expansion. We have made it work. Everyone's they're loving this because everyone's talking about Mercedes and their 18-1 compression ratio at race temperatures. It sounds like Red Bull and Ford have also cracked it. And for Ben Hodgkinson to talk in that way, to say, you're not even an engineer if you don't understand thermal dynamics and thermal expansion. Well, then he's basically saying you're an idiot if you haven't done it. And if Honda haven't done it, Ferrari haven't done it, and Audi haven't done it, well, then you're a bunch of idiots. That's what he's basically saying. He's poking all of them, saying, you complain all you want. You're stupid, we're not. So he's basically telling us that Red Bull have also managed to exploit the same loophole. I mean, he's basically telling us clear as day. So now we know Mercedes have got an 18-to-1 compression ratio, and Ford Red Bull Powertrains have got an 18-to-1 compression ratio. And we all thought, me included, that they were going to be running a 16-to-1 compression ratio. But he's literally telling us by his language, saying, I'm not an idiot. I understand thermal dynamics and expansions. Of course we've done that. Of course we've done that. I mean, I think this is interesting, because going back to what I was talking about earlier about Marko's warning to Max, saying Max is not going to win anything. I don't know whether Marko is aware that that's where Red Bull Powertrains with Ford are at with their engine. Because don't forget, I said it yesterday, I can't remember that senior engineer's name that left Mercedes, jumped over to the Ford powertrain. But I mean, don't get me wrong, Christian Horner, as we talked about last night, took 212 engineers from Mercedes over to Red Bull powertrain. 212 engineers. So what I'm thinking now is Red Bull and Ford have been working on the same hack, the same loophole for as long as Mercedes. And maybe Laurent Marquez and the whole team are just sandbagging. They're playing it all down. They're saying they want people to believe they're not going to have a super strong engine. They love the fact that Mercedes getting all the heat from this 18-to-1 compression ratio at race temperatures, and that could be worth 3 to 4 tenths per lap. And Red Bull just sat there going, "Ha, we've done it too," and nobody's really shouting at us for it, because lots of people think we didn't achieve it. So it could be a masterstroke, and maybe Helmut Marko's wrong. Maybe I've been wrong. Maybe Red Bull and Ford bring an amazing power unit, and maybe that's why Laurent Marquez and Red Bull seeded that story that we covered earlier in the week about their aggressive aerodynamics program moving in from the start of 26, and that's how we're going to improve, give Max the best chance of winning in 26, because we know we're so far behind the other power units, meaning Mercedes, when actually they're sat there going, we're not behind. We're solid. We're just going to tell all the other teams we're going to be doing this, and it's all just fun and games before the 26 season. And if it is, I'm here for it. I like it. I love a bit of, so I love a bit of manipulation from these guys, and play the games. It's the meta game within the game. I'm here for it, but it does open the conversation. It does open the conversation. Red Bull could have a solid power unit at the first time of asking with Ford. And is it even a Ford power unit when he got 212 out of 500 employees from Mercedes? Thane says they keep admitting that they must always be in compliance all the time. I know, but if they can't measure it at all, if they're only going to measure ambient temperatures, then they can't prove they're not, I guess. Andrew says maybe you're right about the master story, Tony. We'll see if Ford has the reliability out of the block. That's always going to be the thing, isn't it? That's always going to be the thing. It's how you remember each driver's only got 4 engines a year. Like reliability and durability, pretty important. And with a brand new power unit, I think if I had to put my money on the most reliable engine, it's going to be Mercedes. We don't know, do we? But I'm here for it. I'm here for seeing what happens in Bahrain when we actually get to see the cars out on track. But they're all going to be sandbagging. This is the thing. Even in Bahrain, we're not going to see the full capabilities of anyone's car, anyone's power unit, really, because everyone's sandbagging until Australia. But it's interesting that I think now I'm confident. I have moved my opinion because of this. My opinion has shifted. I had an opinion yesterday where I thought Red Bull, Ford Powertrains were behind the curve. I didn't think they'd achieved an 18-to-1 compression ratio at race temperatures, and now I'm on the different side. I believe they have achieved it. That's what I think now. But that's the thing about this, isn't it? We can only make form our best opinions from the information that comes out, and that's my opinion has changed. I actually believe now Red Bull have achieved the compression ratio. Totally agree with what Andrew Ward's saying. No idea about reliability, no idea about durability, but that time will tell. But yeah, interesting, I thought. Right, next story. We're going to look at some pretty pictures now. Pretty pictures. But first of all, just to let you know, Planet F1 was saying that Verstappen had a Red Bull request, which has been granted. He's been requesting certain changes to the livery, apparently for a number of years. And let's see. Is he happy with what he got? Ooh. Okay, so this is the RB22. This is Red Bull's 26 livery. I like it. I think it's a good use of the colour blue. They've gone back to the old school outline of the bull. A bit of a throwback, bit of a nod. I've got some other pictures for you. You've got the Ford badge on the bonnet, like you would on a normal car, right at the front, but on the front of the wing there. But it's like on the bonnet of a Ford car. I find that quite funny. The Ford badge is right there, which is pretty cool. We'll talk about what clues we're getting from the design cues from this show car, by the way, as well. And then if you look at this was the picture I really liked. Like if you look at the rear quarter, the Ford badge looks cool. Max Verstappen's 3 looks cool. But you can really see the blues, and I don't know. I think I like it. I'm really impressed with. I like it. I think it's a throwback. I like it. It's very Red Bull. It's still on brand. It still feels like a Red Bull. They haven't changed the blues to like. They're more Ford-like blues, but they've not sort of gone for like pure Ford blue or anything like that. Like I think they've chosen a really nice hue. Yeah, I love it. I really like it. I'm really pleased with it. But of course, we've got a new livery for Racing Bulls as well. Sticking with the white, obviously, which everyone liked in 25. But what I do love about the Racing Bulls livery is I love the white wheel discs. Like, I think that's cool. When I used to race radio-controlled cars when I was younger, because I couldn't afford to go go-karting. So I raced radio-controlled cars quite competitively. And I used to do that. I used to have these little white wheel discs. There were little stickers that went on the outside. And it was cool. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good shout. I think it's a good jumping off point. And you want to have another look? We can have a look at the Racing Bulls here from the overhead. Yeah, don't forget, these are show cars. There's no engines in these cars. These are just really to showcase the livery. But has it revealed anything about the 2026 cars? Now, we're going to discuss this. So I'm going to bring up a comparison. So that's the Red Bull from 2025. And this is the new Red Bull underneath the 2026. Now, give me a second. So we're going to look at this article from Gary Anderson. What Red Bull Showcast tells us about F1 in 2026. So I'm just going to bring up. I'll keep that image on screen. And let me tell you what some of the things that I agree with a lot of things that they're saying here. So this is where it starts. So picking out some specific differences, but in general, they follow the same design trend as far as the side pod and side pod undercut are concerned. This is true. The barge board area is more akin to the pre-ground effect days. The floor detail in front of the rear tyre is also a lot simpler, again, because of the reduction in ground effect underfloor suction. It's going to be more about optimizing the rake to get more work from the diffuser, as opposed to sealing the floor, the ground effect sucking into the ground. The front brake ducts are more detailed and more intricate. Tyre arches have gone. They've also switched to a push rod front suspension, still retain a reasonable amount of anti-drive. But we haven't seen the real suspension design just yet, so you got to take that with a pinch of salt. But the good thing is there seems to be enough areas where the teams can still put their stamp on it. There's still room for design improvements, optimization, aero. Front and rear tyres will now be up for new ideas that will improve the overall effect of the diffuser. So push rod front suspension as opposed to pull rod front suspension during the ground effect era, and they've gone for the side pod. If you look at it, it's more like a Coke bottle design. So yeah, I mean, there are some sort of clues of what they might do, sort of with cooling. Like some of this area where you can see. Oh, sorry, you can't see. I've got my cursor on it. You can't see that, but just underneath where it says Oracle, you can see where they've got these swooping cutaways on those side pods. Now we don't know whether those are actually still going to be there for the 26 car, because at the end of the day they are going to need a hell of a lot of cooling, because they're obviously got to cool these larger batteries now as well. But some of the clues are going to be the end plates on the front wing. You can see the actuators on the active aero. The driving cockpit has been moved further back. The cars are shorter and narrower, but it's the suspension design is going to like I say, it's going to back to pre-ground effect days. But the aero bits are going to be. I don't know whether Red Bull are showing us these aero bits, like if we show you here on the front wing, whether they're red herrings, because they're the first to show like their livery on their show car, and people are going to be looking at this car. Other teams look at this car and go, "Oh, look what they've done there with the aero on the end plates of that front wing, and how are they moving the air on the car like that? And look at the side pods." I mean, I don't know how much of that stuff is real or even going to actually. I think what it tells us, for me, is those areas where we see these differences. I think what it means is there will be some differences, but what the actual solution is to manage the air there, I don't think it's been decided. And I would say they are throwing some red herrings out there. But the livery for me does look, I love it. I have to say, and again, it's this rear quarter, just very, very cool, very cool. I'm going to go to chat, see what you think. I'm going to see what you guys are basically saying. Kyle says Horner built their engine program. Yes, he did. He's going to talking about Red Bull, he's going to make sure they're ready. It's unfortunate he isn't around to see the accumulation of his efforts. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. His last punch at Mercedes was stealing 212 Mercedes engineers and getting them into work for Red Bull. Kyle says, I don't like the white in the middle of the number 3. I know it makes a 1, but still, don't like it. Kyle's not keen on that. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind the number font. Sema, bloody batteries. Yep. Cooling them batteries is going to be hard enough. I mean, yeah. If battery tech... Look, I mean, no one's talking about the battery tech, but it's the cooling of these cars is going to be vital. I mean, cooling of all Formula One cars is vital, obviously, but it's going to be interesting. I don't know what the solutions are really going to be, but it gives us an idea of some of the places on the car that the aero team, where there's element for, creativity, interpretation, get them in the wind tunnel, see what works. Yeah, but it's good. I liked it. More to come on that, by the way. They're all going to, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we did talk about all of the main launch dates between now and, well, a lot of them are actually happening in Barcelona as well. So this month, the beginning of February, we'll get through all of them. We'll get through all the liveries. But that one, I think, is pretty good. Pretty good. Right. Final story of the night, of your Friday night Formula One news. Okay, it's just a quick one as well. It's a nice one to end on. Williams have announced Luke Browning as the team's reserve driver for the 2026 Formula One season. And I think it's a good choice. I mean, I know he didn't win F2. What did he? Did he finish third? What did he? Oh, I'm sure I made a note of it. I think he finished third in F2. I think it was third. Why did he check? No, he finished third in. Right. So he finished. He took part in three free practice sessions. He finished third in Formula 3 and fourth in Formula 2 in the last 2 years. So he's not set the world on fire, but he has been pretty decent. And he was good in the free practice sessions in the Williams. And Vols liked him. And I think he's 24 though. He's going to be soon to be 24. So, if he's going to get an opportunity on the grid, he wants it to happen pretty soon. I think there's an advantage to get on the grid early. Kimi Antonelli on there, 18? Max Verstappen, what was Max? Was he 18, 17 when he got his debut? I mean, Ollie Behrman, what's he? Like, there is a benefit of getting on the grid super early. So, there you go. Good reserve driver. Good result for Luke Browning. He's going to compete in, excuse me, I think he's going to compete in the Super Formula. I'll check. Yeah, he is. So he's going to be running in Super Formula next season. So yeah, he's going to be the reserve driver. So the only races he won't be the reserve driver, by the way, will be Canada, Spa, Singapore, and Las Vegas, which means one of their other junior drivers will get the opportunity to be reserve driver for those Grand Prix. But it's good news. It's good news for Luke Browning. Get some more experience, get some more FP1s. He's got enough points for his super license, obviously, so he hasn't got those issues. It's just about getting experience in the car, isn't it? I can't see him getting a drive. And well, I mean, look, you've got Carlos Sainz, who's quite happy at Williams. You've got Alexander Albon, who potentially, well, we saw him do a great job for the first half of the season. He scored like 72 points in the first 10 races or something. And then Carlos Sainz said he got 16 points. And then we saw Carlos Sainz just have a stellar second half to the season where he just found his groove, and his feedback that feedback loop between him and the engineers started to work. And, we got that podium in Baku after qualifying. I think he qualified P2 in that race. I mean, he just really found his groove, didn't he? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'd only come from an injury. I just can't see Browning getting a drive next year. After that, who knows? Because there's all these rumours. I mean, Albon, when he was doing well last season, the midway point, there was talk about Red Bull coming in for him to replace Max if Max leaves, because Yavudra, who's the Thai owner of Red Bull, which own like 51% of Red Bull, adores Alexander Albon, and he wants a Thai driver in the team if he can. So there was talk that Albon might even be a fit for Red Bull. So if that happened, I think it's getting more and more unlikely though. There's going to be too many good drivers available looking for a move. And I think Oscar Piastri might be looking for a move at the end of next year as well. So I don't think Albon, I don't know where he moves. If he doesn't move to Red Bull, I can't see who else comes in for Albon really. Alpine maybe, but you're just staying in the shit then, aren't you? I don't know. So anyway, getting a drive for Luke Williams next year on the grid, it's going to have to come from some sort of, situation where one of the lead drivers can't race maybe. But it's still good news. I'm not taking away from him. It's good news. He's got a seat. He's got the reserve driver role at Williams. I don't take anything away from him. It's good news. And hopefully he can kick on from there. But he's 24 next year. And if he gets an opportunity, he's got to do it soon. Jaman says Williams had to settle for Browning because Ford hired Logan Sargent for their GT3 and 2020 CWC hypercar program. Wow, they could have gone for, what about Nick de Vries? They could have gone for Nick. What's Nick doing now? That was a crazy, Nick de Vries was a wild one, wasn't it? That was wild. Nick de Vries. He had all the promise in the world. I don't know what that was about. I don't know what that was about. He was quick before he got in a Formula One car, and then he was horrendous. And what did he get? 6 races. Yeah, I don't know. That was a funny one. Krakite says Mercedes domination was all about the engineering team. most have left to Red Bull, Aston Martin, etc. Other teams caught up on hybrid tech by 2021. So I think the engine won't be the dominant force. Ooh, crackeye! I love a controversial opinion. You don't think the power unit's going to be, because it's Toto Wolff that's got me to believe it. Toto Wolff saying that this new regulation cycle is going to be all about the power unit. Now we've moving away from the ground effect era. Mechanical grip, blah blah blah. It's all going to be about the power unit, and maybe you're right. I mean, Aero's still got to be important, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I still think that the power unit will be the biggest advantage. I think there'll be divergence between the worst power unit and the best power unit, and I think the best power unit will give you the most advantage out of any sort of upgrades on the car. Question. You said the most reliable engine is the Merc, but it's the only engine that broke last year and has been the most unreliable in the turbo hybrid eras. No, I just think the Mercedes engine in 26 is going to be the most reliable engine. They've been working on it for 4 years. I don't know. I think they've got it. And then Thane says we have less mechanical grip this year. No, we've got less now. The ground. What I mean is now the ground effect era is gone. We've gone back to mechanical grip, i.e., suspension, right? Like instead of it being the ground effect era, which is just stuck into the ground. Now we actually require the suspension to move with the car, slight bit of roll, which we didn't have before. Obviously the tires are smaller, so there's definitely less surface area of tire on the track, but the cars in theory are going to be 20 kilograms lighter and shorter. But that battery's pretty darn heavy, and there's only speaking of weight, there's only one team that looks like they're going to be at minimum weight, and that's Audi. How far ahead of the curve are they? I mean, Jesus. That's impressive. That is impressive. The Audi, the only team that's saying they're going to be at minimum weight, because every 5 kilos is worth about a tenth a lap. So, that's interesting. So Zane says, no, we have less. We depend more on mechanical grip, but we have less mechanical grip. I see what you're saying. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So we depend more on mechanical grip. Right. Thank you. You are right. Yeah, that is what I'm trying to say, Dane. That's what I'm trying to say. We have less, we have less mechanical grip, but so we depend more on mechanical grip. So we have less mechanical grip. Yeah. Okay. That is why I'm not an engineer, and that's why this is why I talk about the stuff on YouTube. Yeah. But it's going back to finding that grip actually is good. Going back to the mechanical, the car moving in a way that's, in order to find the grip, the car's got to move in a different way. And I think the engineering solutions for that, I mean, I'm excited to see. All in says, we'll see. And also pilots will have a role with the electric boost. We will see which pilots use it most effectively from the start before all of them get used to that. Exactly how they manage, because they've got 2 buttons. My understanding is this: they've got an overtake button and they've got a boost button. Slightly different functions, but basically similar. They deliver more electric power at the moment that the driver requests it in order to complete an overtake. Unclear. I mean, unclear how they manage that, because at the same time, if you're the defending car in front, you also have to manage that battery to defend. So in theory, if you throw a driver a dummy that you're going to overtake and they think you're about to use your power, and the driver in front uses his power and you don't, effectively preserving your battery, there could be some games afoot. Can you get them to use their battery so you can have all the power you need for overtaking? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they're going to manage it. They've only been doing it in the simulators. I don't think any of the drivers do, really. In theory, they've only really been running these cars in simulators, and the simulator might not be exactly accurate until it's going to feel different when they're in the real world situation. So I don't know. It's going to. Some drivers will be better at it than others. I don't know whether the PlayStation generation will be great at that. Thane says, I love that the electric side is more driver centric. It will separate the great drivers. Yeah, yeah. It should separate the great drivers, because giving the driver more control over when he can have that power. But that's the other question. Are they going to give him that control, or are they going to literally just have 2 zones on the track where you're allowed to use the overtake button? But you may as well have a DRS then. I like the idea that the boost is always available, and if you push it at the wrong time and it puts you off the track, well then, so be it. Like, I'd much rather that. Like, if drivers get it wrong, you know, they put the car off the track, and okay, well then you chose the wrong time to ask for that extra power, didn't you? So I would rather the drivers get to choose when they get it. Separate the drive. I know what you're saying there, Thane. Separate the drivers from the Hamiltons, the great drivers from the Hamiltons. Hamilton needs to get in the freaking simulator, I'll tell you that much. His aversion to driving the simulator is going to be his disadvantage, especially going into next year. If I was Hamilton, I'd live in the simulator, because Charles Leclerc will be living in the simulator. Max Verstappen will be living. Max Verstappen will be in the simulator for fun at home because he loves it. Hamilton's going to need to get over that. He's going to need to put the time in the sim. I think it'll help him. You know, he's going to have to get used to it. And especially if we're starting, you know, I mean, he has improved the steering wheel to his liking to make it more driver-centric for his taste. That might help in 26, but he does need to get in the sim. You know, he can't have his teammate doing thousands of hours in the sim and him not. Yeah, all in, you're right. Perez has been living in the sim for the last 4 months. I mean, he's done a little bit of testing in the Cadillac. Yeah, Thane says you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But he needs to. He's got to embrace it. He's got to embrace it. You know, the sim has got to be his best friend. Otherwise, Leclerc's going to take him to school again this year. You know, and that is not going to be great for him. So yeah, I think all of this is looking like give more control to the driver, let them access the power, let them manage the power, and let them choose when to have the power. And as long as the FIA don't sort of start basically making it DRS zones, I hope they don't do that. I really hope they don't do that, but we'll have to see. Crackite says these teams will have all sorts of sim races on it to find the best ways. The drivers just need to take them and maximize it. It's true. Oh, I saw something about actually that esports, some guys out of esports that are purely sim racers, never been in a car, they're getting recruited by some of the top teams to drive the sims. How cool would that be? You could just from racing, you know, just from sim racing competitively, esports. Brilliant. I love that. And that's what, by the way, Anthony Hamilton's race series, what he wants to do, he said there is a pathway for sim racers to get through to be driving those V8s and V10s in his single-seater, open-seater racing series. How cool would that be? From, you know, I love it. I love that. I love there to be a pathway from sim racing to real racing. I'm going to try and do it. You know, I'm only 21. I still could have a career on the grid, driving those V10s. In the Hamilton's race series, F1 grandstand. Yeah, have our own team. I'm here for it. We could do a competition to win who can be my teammate. It's Friday night. I need some whiskey in my coat. Right, good show. Thank you so much to everyone for joining in tonight. Gemma said, look at over 20. I'll take it. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining tonight. It's a good show tonight. Friday night, always fun, a little bit more relaxed. You can drive the show. We covered a lot of stuff though. Breaking news, obviously Adami out. Hamilton needs to find a new race engineer. They are taking applications. Get on the website, Red Bull's website, and Ferrari's website, and put your application in. You never know. You could be Lewis Hamilton's new race engineer. They're going to do a pop idol for it. You know, like a Britain's Got Talent. I don't know. Right, I'm going to go before I just keep talking, waffling. Right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you on the next one. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Friday night. Ta-ta.